Ukraine is killing 30 to 35,000 Russians per month.
I'm sorry, but the picture is so horrifying. In Ukraine, they're neutralizing 30 to 35,000 Russian soldiers a month. The casualty rates are unbelievable, 5 Russians for every 1 Ukrainian. And 95% of this is now being done solely with drones. This isn't a war, it's systematic annihilation. Dear viewers, today is April 27, 2026. World history is witnessing one of the most critical, irreversible breaking points since perhaps World War II. The Northern Nightmare. The scenario that has kept the Kremlin awake for decades, the one they warned would destroy us if it happens, has ceased to be merely a scenario or a geopolitical forecast. It has officially become a nuclear reality. With the historic bill it presented to its parliament today, the Finnish government has asked for approval to import, store, and deploy American nuclear weapons on its territory. Please take a moment to consider the gravity of this statement. Finland is seeking to formalize that major strategic shift, opening its nuclear doors wide, following its NATO membership. The cloak of neutrality that has maintained Europe's balance for decades has not merely been removed, that cloak has been burned by a nuclear fire. This is no longer a deterrence message, dear viewers. This is the most concrete checkmate challenge to Putin from the Arctic. We have entered an era where a nuclear-tipped missile launched from Helsinki can reach Russia's decision-making centers in mere minutes, getting so close that even radars cannot react. Finland is no longer the tip of NATO's spear. It is now the spear's nuclear tip itself. President Alexander Stubb's morbid, that is, horrifying, statements you just heard actually explain on their own why Finland is in such a hurry and why it has turned to nuclear weapons.
Ukraine is killing 30 to 35,000 Russians per month. And the kills happen at a ratio 1 to 5, so 1 Ukrainian for 5 Russians.
Stubb announced to the world that the Russian army is losing 30 to 35,000 soldiers every month in Ukraine, and that for every 1 Ukrainian killed, 5 Russian soldiers are dying. These figures are proof not of a routine conflict, but of an army being systematically ground down. Why is Finland sharing these figures? Because they are exposing the paper tiger across the border to the entire world. The fact that 95% of the Russian military's losses are caused by drones proves that numerical superiority and human wave tactics have now crashed against the wall of modern technology and been shattered. Helsinki says, "Your massive army is nothing but a pile of flesh in the face of modern technology, artificial intelligence, and drones. And we are now adding nuclear warheads to this technological superiority." At the strategic table, physical fortifications aren't limited to mere rhetoric. A massive logistics network is being established. On March 24, 2026, Finland selected Rovaniemi, the heart of Lapland, as the permanent headquarters for NATO's Forward Land Forces, FLF. This means establishing a permanent NATO logistics and war planning center right on the Russian border, just below the Arctic Circle. This is not merely a place for soldiers. It is the seal that will sever Russia's northern logistics routes, the roads and railways leading to Murmansk, with a single order. They didn't stop there. On April 26th, NATO established its 3rd major nerve center unit in Riihimäki, specializing in telecommunications and IT. Finland has now become not just NATO's shield, but its very brain. This digital shield and communications hub established at the border is a technological behemoth capable of instantly detecting and neutralizing any electronic activity by Russia, while providing real-time nuclear targeting data to field commanders. Even if the news were limited to Finland alone, the world would be shaken. However, the latest developments from Poland and France have escalated the tension directly into a nuclear conflict drill. French Rafale jets will conduct a nuclear attack drill targeting high-value targets in Russia and Belarus by flying along the Budapest-Kaliningrad route. Ladies and gentlemen, this is no ordinary flight. During this drill, Rafale jets will simulate the launch of ASMP nuclear cruise missiles. These exercises announced over the Baltic Sea demonstrate that NATO now threatens Russia not only by containing it at the border, but through direct, deep-strike nuclear operations, that is, by directly destroying decision-making centers. Kaliningrad is no longer a Russian stronghold. It is a gateway caught in the crossfire of NATO nuclear missiles. NATO's strategic pressure is now resonating not only in the skies, but also beneath the ice in the world's most challenging terrain. The US and NATO allies are launching the largest Arctic deployment in history, set to last for weeks in the Arctic and Baltic regions. High North and Baltic drills. This is not merely a show of force, dear viewers. It is an operation to place a steel lock on Russia's strategic lifeline. According to data released by the Anadolu Agency, AA, when the US nuclear submarines and aircraft carrier strike groups participating in the exercise join forces with Finland's nuclear-capable assets, the result is terrifying. This operation, set to last for weeks, has a single, secret objective: to confine Russia's massive nuclear submarine fleet, which symbolizes its Arctic energy strongholds and second strike capability, to its own ports. Once viewed as a zone of peace and cooperation, the Arctic has now transformed into a massive operational theater where NATO holds absolute dominance, and every propeller of the Russian fleet is monitored second by second. For the Kremlin, the northern route is no longer just closed, it is completely sealed off. Another front, just as critical as air and land, has opened beneath the ice. The High North exercises, set to last for weeks, have a secret objective: to neutralize Russia's second strike capability, that is, its submarine-launched nuclear missiles, before they even leave port. With Finland's accession to NATO, the main exit routes of Russia's northern fleet, Murmansk, have been covered by NATO sonar. New generation listening stations deployed in Norway's deep fjords report to the Brussels headquarters the moment a Russian nuclear submarine's propeller begins to turn. The 95% drone success rate Stubb mentioned applies underwater as well. NATO's unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs, are shadowing Russian submarines. The Baltic and Arctic are no longer open seas for Russia. They have turned into a NATO lake where every corner is monitored. Dear viewers, do not mistake Finland's F-35 move for an isolated event. Here, the greatest regional alliance in modern aviation history is emerging: the Scandinavian United Air Force. Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark have united all their air forces under a single command center, and a single radar network. The force we're facing is terrifying. A total of over 250 state-of-the-art fighter jets. And hold on tight, over 140 of this massive force consist of fifth-generation, radar-evading F-35 stealth aircraft. On the radars of this unified network, any Su-35 or Paper Tiger, Su-57 taking off in Russia's northern airspace becomes a target the moment its engines start. The Scandinavian airspace has now become an impenetrable, irreversible black hole for Russian pilots. According to leaked intelligence reports, this unified shield is not merely defensive, it is conducting simulations of simultaneous radar-evading blind spot attacks, targeting nuclear silos and command centers hidden deep within Russia. The ghosts of the north are no longer waiting silently. They are locked onto their targets. Finnish border guards have erected an electronic wall along the border through a massive investment. This strategic agreement with Sensofusion Oy has officially activated anti-drone systems capable of instantly detecting and neutralizing any Russian drone, spy device, or foreign object at the border. The spirit of the White Death that froze the Russians in the snow during the Winter War has transformed into electronic death in 2026. NATO's largest artillery training center, established in Lapland, now promises an artillery hell capable of bringing Moscow's northern logistics lines under fire within seconds and destroying Russian armored vehicles with smart munitions before they even approach the border. The artillery batteries here are designed to also possess the capability to fire nuclear tactical missiles. Another front as critical as air and land has opened beneath the ice. The High North exercises, which will last for weeks, have a secret objective: to neutralize Russia's second strike capability, that is, to neutralize nuclear missiles launched from submarines before they even leave port. With Finland's accession to NATO, the main exit routes of Russia's northern fleet, Murmansk, have been lined with NATO sonar. New generation listening stations deployed in Norway's deep fjords report to the Brussels headquarters the moment a Russian nuclear submarine's propeller begins to turn. The 95% drone success rate Stubb mentioned applies underwater as well. NATO's unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs, shadow Russian submarines like a shadow. The Baltic and Arctic are no longer open seas for Russia, but have turned into a NATO lake where every corner is monitored. Let's delve into the technical details of that nuclear exercise conducted by France using Rafale jets. The French Air Force is essentially making a counter-bluff against Putin's nuclear bluff along a route stretching from Budapest to the Kaliningrad line. The ASMP missiles carried by the Rafales are designed to penetrate Russian air defense systems. For years, Russia has been threatening Europe with nuclear weapons via Kaliningrad. However, with Finland's nuclear weapons storage bill submitted to Parliament, this advantage has shifted. Russia now knows that if it launches a nuclear attack, it will face not just a single-directional threat, but a multi-directional nuclear downpour coming from the Baltic, Finland, Poland, and Norway. Stubb's 1-to-5 ratio actually applies not just to ground troops. This strategic balance has also shifted against Russia in the nuclear domain. Russia's nuclear doctrine is now nothing more than a worthless piece of paper in the face of NATO's encirclement strategy. The Finnish Air Force has completed training for its first F-35 pilots, and these jets are set to land in Rovaniemi this fall. Thanks to their stealth capabilities, these aircraft can slip past Russian air defense systems like a piece of paper and drop their nuclear payloads directly on the target. But the real bombshell is the decision to form the United Scandinavian Air Force. Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark have united over 250 modern fighter jets under a single command. This means Russia is facing Europe's largest, most modern, and most technologically advanced combined air force right on its northern border. The Scandinavian Combined Air Force is establishing absolute dominance in the skies against Russia's aging Su-27 fleet. An F-35 patrolling along the border can target nuclear strategic sites without leaving a trace on Russian radars. For Russia, this is the sound of invisible death on wings. Let's turn to the leaked details of that 1,200-page classified nuclear file submitted to the Finnish parliament. The file covers not only the storage of nuclear weapons, but also the transfer of part of the command and control authority over these weapons to the Finnish General Staff. According to intelligence sources, not only fixed missiles, but also mobile nuclear launchers will be deployed on Finnish territory. These launchers will constantly change locations across Finland's thousands of lakes and forested areas, becoming impossible to track targets for Russian satellites. Finland aims to become a nuclear ghost force. Russia will never be able to predict from which forest a nuclear missile will emerge. The Kremlin has characterized these developments as an existential risk. Russia is endangering civilian flights by jamming GPS signals along the Finnish border and driving migrant crises toward the border. However, Finland's response was far harsher. The Cold Response 26 exercise. In this show of force, which saw 25,000 troops participate in person, nuclear counterattack scenarios were simulated. Finland is now responding to Russia's human wave tactics with a silicon, steel, and nuclear core wave. The 1-to-5 casualty ratio Stubb mentioned proves that the Russian military machine has passed its expiration date. Finland is no longer afraid. Finland is now simply sealing the deal. It's not just Finland. All of Scandinavia has shifted into war economy mode. From the submarine bases in Norway's deep fjords to Sweden's underground hangars, every location is part of the plan to strangle Russia from the north. Finland's nuclear move is creating a domino effect, prompting Sweden and Norway to take similar steps. Russia's military superiority in the Arctic region has completely evaporated due to Finland's latest nuclear move. While the Kremlin grapples with its own economic contraction and military losses, it cannot find any military way to overcome this massive nuclear wall it faces in the north. The 35,000 casualties Stubb mentioned are proof that the Russian army is finished, not just physically, but morally as well. Dear viewers, let's summarize. Finland has buried its nuclear bans, established NATO's largest artillery hell, sealed its border with an electronic shield, and deployed stealth aircraft. France, meanwhile, is conducting a nuclear apocalypse drill along the Kaliningrad line with its Rafale jets. The US has begun siege exercises in the Arctic that will last for weeks. Do you think this is history's greatest geopolitical bluff, aimed at forcing Russia to withdraw from Ukraine? Or are we witnessing the opening acts of a third world war set to begin under the Northern Lights? Is the data shared by Alexander Stubb, 35,000 casualties per month, proof that the Russian army is collapsing from within, and that Finland is nearing the nuclear trigger to end this collapse? I'm waiting for your comments below. Will these moves bring Putin to the negotiating table, or push him to press the nuclear button? I'll read every single one. We'll continue analyzing the raw truths beyond propaganda, on-the-ground military movements, and geopolitical fractures. Please don't forget to subscribe to the MrGEOPOL channel and turn on notifications. You can provide the greatest support for this independent analytical platform by clicking the like button. I'm Charlie from the MrGEOPOL team. Keep your mind and strategic vision sharp at all times. See you in the next critical analysis. Stay safe.